First Church. How's everybody doing today? Awesome. So my name is John White. I'm a member of the finance team here at committee at First Church. And I want to give you a little bit of a perspective about our church from a financial viewpoint. We don't tend to talk a lot about finances in church. So, we don't think it's appropriate for Pastor Christian to do it. It should be something, and he's saying, praise the Lord back there. So it's good that we can have members of our committee actually discuss what needs to be discussed. And one of the things I want to mention is we want to be totally transparent when it comes to the finances of the church. And that's one of the reasons we want to have this opportunity just to speak with you today. So the first thing that comes to mind when we talk about church is our mission statement. And I know it's printed on the front of the bulletin every single Sunday. I'm sure it's on the website. But it is so important. It's the foundation for what we do. Make disciples of Jesus Christ who love boldly, serve joyfully, and lead courageously in our local community and around the world. So it kind of drives everything that we do from this point forward. So how do we accomplish this? So we utilize church members like you, our staff, and our facilities to carry out specific and focused outreach ministries both locally and globally. So what are some of the examples of what these ministries are? So there I just have a kind of a snapshot of a few of those. There's probably 3 times the number of missions that we do here. I mean, I always think of First Church. What do you say about First Church? We're the downtown church, but we're also the church that does a lot of things with missions, both locally and beyond. So there's just a few examples of those. And if you'll notice, we've kind of categorized those into 4 sections: worship, care, outreach, and learning. And those will be kind of important to understand as I continue my discussion. So all of this takes funding. So your tithes and offerings have made it possible to do what we do here at First Church for generations. And there's no question about that. But we do need to cover, and we love to spend money on the ministries, but we do need to cover things like the fixed costs of the building, utilities, staffing, insurance, all those type of things. So what tools do we have to project the church finances? So the first thing that happens, and this is kind of income and expense budget 101, if you will. The first thing that happens is our staff provides financial input for their areas. So what do we need in high school ministries, middle school ministries, all those type of things? We look at historical data. So we will go back and look at 3, 4, 5 years of information to say, what have we done in the past in terms of income and expenses? And then we have a finance committee that meets every other month, and not only do we consider the creation of a budget, but we also talk about the financial health of the church and where we're at that point in time of the year. So then again, that results in the annual income and expense budget. So I just wanted to list off the members of the Finance Committee. I don't know if we all know who are all on all the different committees, but we've got Susan, Noah, Denise, John, Matt, Jeff, Justin, Christian, myself, Marty as liaison to the Ad Board Committee, Sue, and Jana. So that's our team that currently is serving. And I do want to recognize Martha Ballard. Is Martha here this morning? Martha was helpful, and we started talking about this campaign last fall, and Martha was still on the Finance Committee, so I want to recognize her and her help. So let's get into some results. So first of all, let's talk about the prior years. So in 2024, we had a shortfall of $28,000. In 25, we had a shortfall of $34,000. So it's obvious that the income is not paced with the expenses, but by looking at that. So as a result, though, we've chosen not to scale back on ministries that fuel our mission statement. It all comes back to the mission statement. So for 2026, we're kind of keeping the status quo. So how have we done that the last 2 years? Well, we've used reserve funds intended for situations like these to cover the shortfalls. So we very purposely created a reserve for things like this where the income doesn't match the expenses. So beyond 2026, it's obvious we can't sustain this gap long term, and we'll need to have some additional discussions. But for 2026, we kind of want to maintain the status quo as it relates to what we do here at First Church. So what's the financial picture look like for this year? So our expenses, which are projected and budgeted, again, using the staff as input for what their needs are, is $593,000. So that is made up of areas such as, and this is not everything, but staffing, ministries, facilities, music and worship, the pastor. I've talked to Christian a little bit about, hey, would you just, kind of do the job for free? And he wasn't quite sure about that. He's got a family, to feed, and he's got that smoker to keep active, to make all that pulled pork and everything that he does. Insurance, administrative office, and local and outreach, and world outreach. So, based on the expenses, then, we look at projected income giving for 2026. And so we're looking at the past results, like I mentioned before, the size of our congregation. We did not solicit for giving pledges this year. So, I'm not saying it's a shot at the dark, but we're looking at the data that we have to be able to say what we believe the income will be for this year. So based on all that, we're projecting our income at $520,000 for this year. Okay? So that gives you a little bit of a level set of where we're at. So if we go to the next slide and we look at the outlook, it's going to be pretty obvious. 593, you guys all did great in math, I'm sure. And 520, that leaves a $73,000 gap between the projected expenses and income. So how do we plan to bridge that gap this year? So we've talked as a finance team, and we said, well, one of the things, if necessary, we could do some additional fundraising. We've done very targeted fundraising, mission trips, VBS, that type of thing, but nothing very specific for the general budget. Well, we may have to do some of that, so we've got that in mind. And the second piece to this, the remaining, what would that be, $43,000, is through the tending season program. So what is that all about? So nourishing what we love together. So the idea here is for you as members of our congregation is to pick a ministry that you're passionate about. So we have the 4 groups, and we'll get into that in the insert here in just a second. Care, worship, learning, and outreach. So within those 4 areas, we have 25 different categories of possible giving to choose from. So one thing to note is, as you pray about the giving that you give to First Church, you have what you have thought is, this is what I want to give to the church. This is giving over and above your regular tithing and giving. So we ask that you consider a commitment to this. So let's talk a little bit about how this works, how this will work. So in your handout, we've got the tending season, and you'll notice, you can go to that next slide. That's an example. That's really hard to read, but it's actually in your bulletin here. Those 4 areas: care, worship, learning, and outreach. And notice they're all color-coded, okay? And so we did that for a specific reason. So if we look at any one of those, let's just look at worship. And let's look at liturgical arts. So liturgical arts within our budget has a total budget of $600, okay? So the thought process is for that one or any of these other 25 items on here is for you to look at this and say, man, I would really like to help over and above giving in one of these areas. So if liturgical arts had some passion for you, what you could do is you could take the pledge form that's also in the handout, and you could say, I would like to, in that specific area, I would like to give some amount of money that would help cover the budget items for that item. So liturgical arts has a total budget of $600, and what we would say is maybe a suggested gift for that. You could fund the whole budget item, or you could fund a portion of that. And a portion of that could be $200. Now, it could be less than that, whatever your means allow you to do, but that is the whole concept of what we're trying to do. So we have the exhibit over here with kind of our tree here, and I'll just take a moment to thank Marianne Falk for the theme and the exhibits for this. She's done a great job, and so we came up with the idea and the content, and she kind of took it to the next level. So if you need anything creatively done, like at your house or anything, just go see Marianne. And I don't know if she's on a project fee basis or an hourly basis or whatever, but she'll help you out. She's very good with that kind of stuff. So as you can see, we've got those 4 categories, and they're all color-coded on the tree with the leaves, with the branches. So the whole thought process is we want to turn this tree right over here in the next 6 weeks to all green leaves. All green leaves means that we've fully funded this additional amount that we're trying to raise of $43,000, okay? And again, the idea is instead of us just saying, hey, asking, would you please give some additional funding to help us with our budget situation? Because we know by the time fourth quarter rolls around, we're probably going to be at a shortfall, just like the past 2 years. So instead of us just saying, would you please consider giving us a gift, we're giving you the opportunity to pick an area that you think is kind of important to you or your family. Maybe you are a member of the choir, the handbells, whatever. You've got young children for Vacation Bible School, that type of thing. So let's look at real quickly, let's look at the pledge form. So the idea is here is you'd fill out your name and address, you'd figure out which one of these areas is important to you at the high level, the branch, and then you would pick a specific ministry item that you would give to. From that point forward, you would just list your total commitment and then how you would go about. That's the mechanics of the whole thing, how you would go about paying for it. One-time gift, would you prefer to pay weekly or monthly, or how would you like to do this? Twice a month, whatever. And then if you notice on the form, there's something that we call the watering can gift, courtesy of Marianne Falk, the watering can. Isn't that, think of this, we're trying to grow this tree. Marianne comes up with the watering can. I love it. So if you'd like to provide a smaller amount than any of the ones listed, so it would just tell you how you would go about doing that. And then if you want some recognition, or you want to remain anonymous, anything like that. So that is the whole concept. We've made this brochure such that you can take it home, digest it, hopefully remember a couple things that I've mentioned this morning, but otherwise, most of the information is provided in the handout. Now, if you look at the banner, you'll see a number. Sorry, choir, you don't get to see this, but I'm going to tell you all about it. There's a number in the bottom left corner. I guess it's right corner as you're looking at it. $9,200. What is that number? Well, that represents the finance team's commitment to our $43,000. So we talked about it and we said, hey, if we're going to ask the congregation to come through with some additional funding for the budget, then we need to step up in the same manner and show you how serious we are about this and what commitment we're willing to make. So we are planning to run this campaign for 6 weeks. This banner, I know this is the last week for choir, right? Is that right, for the summer? So I guess we could keep it there, but what we're going to do, we're going to actually move it over, and we've got a table over there. We will have somebody at the table before the service and after the service each week for the next 5 weeks beyond today, and they will be able to take your pledges, or you could drop those off at the church office, so whatever you prefer. Now, if you need more information about how this is all works, and the other thing I want to mention too is we will give you just a 1-minute update each week on what progress we're making. So right now we're at $9,200. Hopefully by next Sunday we can announce that at a much higher number. That's what we would like to see. So each week we'll give you an update of where we are. We'll actually update the little box. We'll put it up, the display over on a table so it's up high so everybody can see it. So if you want more information, you can go to our website, vanwertfirst.net, and you'll see we've added a section called the tending season right there. So again, thank you to Marianne for the theme and exhibits, the finance team for the financial support to kick this off. Our target again, $43,000, which would fund all 25 of those budget items. Now, we don't have funding for things like insurance and salaries and that type of thing. We didn't think that was important for the congregation to kind of get behind and say, hey, I'm real excited about doing this. So we tried to pick things that we thought would be an interest area for you. So the result, my last slide, the finance and administrative board teams, we're committed to continuing this work that our church has been doing. We as a church body will do God's work through ministries that matter. We think they all matter. You know, we don't want to be in a position where we have to pick and choose what ministries we support. We love all the things that we do. So pray about it. Consider supporting this campaign as we love boldly, serve joyfully, and lead courageously. So if you have any questions about this, you can contact any of our finance committee members. I think most of the members are here today, so they're happy to answer any of your questions. I'd love to sit down with you one-on-one and talk about it if you'd like to, so whatever you'd like to do. So thank you for your time for this.